What's up, everybody? As you can see, we are back here at Valley Sports Cards and Memorabilia in Tarzana, California. Today, something a little bit different, switching it up. We're going to be hanging out with Donnie Most, also known as Ralph Malph. You already know it from the TV show Happy Days. He's been up to a lot since then, and we're going to talk to him a little bit about the good old days and his sports background as well. So, sports fans, let's see what Don Most has to talk about. All right, everybody, we are back here at sportsrecall.com, and today we are sitting down with Don Most. Most people know him as Donnie Most, or even better yet, Ralph Malph from the TV show Happy Days. Don, thanks for taking time out of your schedule to sit down and chat with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Great to be with you, Kareem.
Appreciate it, appreciate it. Now, we always try to take things all the way back to the start. You obviously weren't born a famous actor, but, you know, you were a kid growing up in New York.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know, New York, they call it the concrete jungle, but like most kids in New York, you grew up loving sports, playing sports.
I did. Well, we used to play out in the street all the time. We would play punch ball and two-hand touch football. We had a street that didn't have a lot of traffic, but it still had some. But our goal lines, it was sewer to sewer. Those were the goal lines, you know. And you'd say, okay, go to the white Chevy, and do a button hook, you know, and that was the game. Or we'd play stoop ball and stick ball, of course, that kind of stuff. But then we had parade grounds. It was called the parade grounds nearby. It was all these baseball fields, and baseball was my favorite. I was a huge baseball fan growing up, and in fact, that was my first dream, to be a baseball player before I got into the acting side of things.
Okay, now growing up in New York, you're talking about baseball, you're talking about some legendary all-time greats. Any particular favorites or anybody that you said, you know, I'm not just going to be a baseball player, but I'm going to be like that guy?
Absolutely, without a doubt. Growing up in New York, you could imagine, okay, I started following baseball seriously, right, sort of at the end of 1959 into the 1960 season. And then there was the great 1961 season in New York with the Mantle Maris pursuit of Babe Ruth's home run record. So that's when I got introduced to the team and the game, and Mickey Mantle was my big hero, as he was for the majority of people in New York. Although we used to get back then, the New York Giants were still there, and the Brooklyn Dodgers in '50. They left. '57 was the last season, I think. So I used to get into huge arguments with some of my friends who was the best center fielder, you know, and there was the Mickey Mantle camp, and there was the Willie Mays camp, and even the Duke, you know, the Duke of Flatbush.
Duke Schneider, the one and only.
Right. So it provided for many heated debate, but Mantle was the king for me.
Well, you're talking about those three center fielders, you can't really go wrong. So growing up, you're a baseball fan. Obviously, somewhere along that line, you know, the major leagues didn't come calling. But and this is an interesting thing. You're getting older. You're in college.
Yeah.
Somewhere the acting bug hits you, and you decide, you know what, I need to leave New York.
Well, yeah, but it really started a little earlier than that, because I had started pursuing acting pretty seriously when I was around 16, and I was going to a class in Manhattan, and then I was able to get a manager, and then get to be working with different agents, and I started getting auditions, and I started getting a lot of commercials, and so I was working, and occasional TV show here and there, small parts, but mainly commercials, and then I was going to college. Kind of simultaneously. I used to even commute. I would drive. I would take the bus 3 hours from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania to Manhattan for an audition that would take 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But I wound up doing a lot of commercials, and I was doing theater in college. But I was getting frustrated. I wasn't getting up for the kinds of roles I really wanted, and then it turns out that the girl that I was dating, who happened to be an actress, was going to be going out to California for the summer after my junior year. And I didn't want to, I thought I'd like to be with her during the summer and not be away, and I could make some connections. So that's what kind of was the catalyst for me to come out here that summer. And then I got a couple of parts right away, a guest role on Room 222, and then one on the show Emergency. And then she went back to enter college. And I decided, after my agent said, we think you should take a 6-month break because you got some momentum. You're getting parts right away, and we think you could do really well. And I didn't even have to think about it. It was like, yes, that's what I'm doing. And I stayed, and she went back to New York.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you about that. You were towards the end of college. I mean, you hadn't had your degree yet.
Right.
And it might have been easier for you to say, hey, I got my degree. Let me see what's going on. But obviously, coming out to California, you had a little taste of maybe what was to come.
Yeah, I mean, I went out there with the original intention of just spending the summer and then going back and finishing my senior year. But when things were starting to happen, and like you said, I was getting a taste of it, and and what they proposed was reasonable. It was like, hey, take 6 months off. If things aren't going the way you'd hoped, well, then, you're just taking a little break.
Yeah, extra semester maybe.
Exactly. And then you go back to college if you want. But they felt there was the timing felt good for them, and they were right, Although when I made the decision, I went like about 3 months without getting anything, and I'm going, oh no, what did I do? And then I was thinking about maybe I was starting to look for a job, and I thought I blew it, and I was going to have to go back to school. But then a couple of things happened, and I got a part in something else, and then the audition and then the eventual screen test for Happy Days came up a little bit after that.
Now, talking about Happy Days, I mean, now everybody knows it, just iconic television. But we're talking about, this was just an audition at the time. You got some sides or maybe even, a whole script. Nobody knew it was going to take off the way it did. What did you think about it?
Well, when we shot the pilot, it's funny that you asked, because I was having really good feelings, just observing and seeing what the cast that they had assembled. And Tom Bosley was known as a big star on Broadway, and Henry, Ron Howard, of course, had been a star for years and years.
He might have been working a little bit.
Yeah, since he was 3.5, and then Marion Ross, she wasn't a star, but she had done a good amount of work. But just watching the chemistry and watching how things were coming together, I remember calling my parents one night towards the end of the shooting, and I was all excited, saying, I really think this has a chance to get picked up as a series, because you don't even know if it's going to get on the air.
Yeah, it can be a big risk, even if you book the pilot, and who knows, a lot of pilots just stay pilots.
The majority, like 95% of them, don't ever become a series, so you don't know. But with Gary Marshall's background, he had The Odd Couple on the air at that time, and I just had a really good feeling, and I was telling my parents this, but I could tell that they were just thinking that I had, wishful thoughts, like I was having wishful thinking, but I really had a good feeling. Now, did I know that it was going to become this incredible success that would be an iconic show? I don't think I was thinking along those lines, but I just felt it had a good chance of having some success,
Okay, good. And something else we want to ask you about, because not only yourself growing up being a big baseball fan, we know Gary Marshall, also a big-time sports nut. So we're going to talk a little bit in just a second about how he was able to work sports in the Happy Days, even if it was never on any of the episodes that we all get to see on TV. Okay, everybody, we're back. And like I said, talking with Don Most, talking about Gary Marshall, big-time sports fan, big baseball guy himself. So when you guys weren't on set shooting Happy Days, he decided to put together the Happy Days softball team, and you guys went around to different cities playing games?
Absolutely. It was the greatest fun. We would play in like all the major league stadiums around the country before the regular games, usually for a charity, and we'd be playing against local radio stations or something like that to benefit local charities. But it was the biggest, fan. It was such a dream come true because, like I said, I dreamed of being a baseball player as a kid. Now I was out there, in the field, and I always wanted to be center fielder like Mickey. So I'd get out there during batting practice with the, we'd be out there with the regular guys. I'm out there with guys suited up and they're ready to play for the game, and shagging flies with them and talking to them, and every once in a while even getting to get in the cage to do a little batting practice. So that was the most fun. I mean, then we played our softball game, which was great fun too. But I think I got a bigger kick out of, being with the major leaguers out there during the shagging time, Yeah.
And I'm thinking just, like you said, even if you didn't play major league ball, you're still in the arenas. I mean, you're still in that same batter's box, the same dugouts.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I even got to watch one or two games, a complete game from the dugout, which was insane. That was just insane for me to be able to do that.
Did anybody say, "Hey, what's Ralph Malph doing in the dugout over here"?
Well, this actually happened when I wasn't even during a Happy Days game. A friend of mine was good friends with a bunch of the Philadelphia Phillies, and I think Tony La Russa. No, Chicago. They were on Chicago now. They had been traded, and Tony La Russa was managing, and he was able to. They suited us up, and we were able to sit in the dugout by doing that. So I know we got some looks from some people, but all the guys were cool about it. All the players,
Who said Tony La Russa wasn't a nice guy? We never knew.
Exactly. He was great to me.
Can you remember any of the, I mean, obviously, I'm sure by that time, Mickey Mantle was retired, but any of the pros that you remember shagging fly balls with, or just anybody that kind of sticks out in your mind that you thought, wow, I'm standing next to?
Yeah. Well, there were a bunch there were a lot of the Dodgers, back then. I'm trying to remember, not in the outfield, but talking to Ron Say and Steve Yeager and those guys, I remember. But there was one instance where I was out in center field, and there was a center fielder who used to play for the Baltimore Orioles, and then I don't remember who he was playing for when I met him, but he was like one of the best defensive center fielders, incredible speed, and his name was Paul Blair. And this guy was known for his, and I remembered, and I thought I was pretty quick, and I was out in center field, and a ball was hit, and it was hit pretty deep. And I remember I turned and I started moving quick, and he was already like 10 yards. I couldn't believe how fast he was. I mean, it was like mind blowing what a jump he got on that ball, and that's really has always stayed with me.
And the word on the street is, as far as the Happy Days team goes, I mean, you were one of the better players in terms of being expected to produce.
I was considered one of the better players. I had several home runs during some, not over the fence. We were playing softball in a major league field, but inside the park homers. I probably had maybe 4 homers during the course of the games that we played, and one of them was I was really excited because they were playing. I can't remember who. Maybe we were at an Angel game, and they were playing Oakland, and Billy Martin, I think it was Oakland, Billy Martin was managing. And Billy Martin...
Another nice guy manager,
but Billy and Mickey were best of friends. Billy Martin and Mickey Mantle were great, great friends. As a matter of fact, because Billy was such a, he had a tendency to, back then, to get into fights, and they'd go out drinking and carousing a lot, Billy and Mickey, right? So to get him away from Mickey, the Yankees traded Billy Martin because they thought he was a bad influence on Mantle. So they traded him away. But Mickey and Billy were great, great friends. So when I got to meet Billy Martin, it was a big thrill for me. And in that game, I hit a home run and a double, and I made a really good catch out, in center field. So then when somebody told me to come in to meet Billy, and I got in to meet him, and I was so excited to meet him, and he says to me, "Hey, that was a nice catch you made out there, and that line drive home run." He was complimenting me, and I was like, "That's it. I've just made it. I just made it in the baseball world."
And I mean, it sounds like you said the way these games were set up, you were also raising money for some really good causes. So that had to feel good as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so many of those events, were set up that way. So it was a win-win for everybody. We had a great time. The charities benefited, and the fans loved it, and it was great for the teams as well.
Now, a lot of good times, a lot of great memories, but eventually you did decide to leave the show. What was the biggest challenge that you had kind of transitioning from those happy days times to what was next for Don?
Well, the obvious happened that when a show is that successful, and especially, I think sitcoms, maybe even more so than, say, dramatic shows, you get so associated with that role. And here was a show that was not only still running in prime time when I left, but it was syndicated already. So it was in reruns all the time. So people, it was just, it was hard to break away from the role. And not so much in my mind that the public had a problem with it, but it was the industry that didn't give the public enough credit, so that they assumed the public would not be able to accept me in another role. So they played very safe and fearful of. They don't like to take risks a lot. So I think that was the biggest problem, and I had that hurdle for quite a while, and it was tough. But I think as time went, I still worked. I did a lot of theater to really get my, give myself a chance to keep the muscles strong, the acting chops, and try different kinds of roles. Because in theater, you usually get a chance to broaden the range of the kind of roles that you would normally get. So that was really good. And then as time went by, I started, I think, with distance from the role and getting older, especially in the last, I'd say, 5-10 years, the roles have started opening up again in a better way, and I'm playing different kinds of roles. And I had a recurring role on Glee and a lot of in Star Trek Voyager and all kinds of other shows and some independent films. And then I started directing some feature films as well, some independent films. So, that was a way of continuing to stay in the business and staying connected with, even though there were some obstacles in the way.
Now, I mean, it's interesting you say that, as when you get so associated with the role, people may not see you as something else. But you said it wasn't you. Actors have to take chances. It's just what you guys do. But if the people on the other side of the camera aren't so willing, I mean, it had to be frustrating.
It was very, very frustrating. Yeah, that's why doing the theater was very helpful to keep my sanity for a while. And then having a wonderful wife was very helpful, and then having kids to keep my sanity. But because it was tough, because I couldn't even get out on auditions for a long time for anything decent. They wouldn't even let me come in and audition. Which was and then of course I had some really close calls to some really good parts that I almost got, but there was that one person who couldn't get past the Happy Days image thing, and it was a big Broadway show. There was a big film that everyone wanted me based on the audition, except there was always one person that said, no, I don't want the association with Happy Days, with this very serious movie or play that they were doing, So it was tough.
Well, you kept fighting. You did start working, different TV shows, movies, Broadway as well, on theater. And actually, when we were talking a little bit earlier, you said kind of one of your favorite roles happened to be a theater role. Am I correct?
Yeah, because when the question came up, what's one of your favorite roles? Well, like I said, I think I had more opportunities to do roles with great depth or something very different in theater than I have on TV and film. I mean, I've gotten to do some things that are a little different. I did an independent film called The Yankles, where I play a semi-alcoholic ex-ball player who is alienated with his son, and it's pretty dramatic. So I enjoyed that a lot. And in theater, I once did a play in Omaha, Nebraska, where I got to play. It's the play called Wait Until Dark. It was originally a Broadway play, and then it was a great movie with Audrey Hepburn and Alan Arkin. And the role I got to play was the role that Alan Arkin did, where he's like he's a psychotic. I mean, he's just a sick, deranged man killer. And so to get to play that role when people, and this was during the height of Happy Days, this was like 5 years in, and to transform myself, and there were people who said they didn't even know it was me until like halfway through the first act or till the second act. They didn't even realize it was me. So that was very rewarding, fulfilling, one of my favorite roles, I think.
Little fun fact for all the people out there, and I didn't tell you this earlier. Don acted with Ron Howard. I was in a movie with Ron's brother, Clint. Church Ball. Go check it out. They send me a residual check for like 17 cents every other couple of months.
What's the name of the film?
Yeah, Church Ball.
Okay.
Not really. But listen, Don, what you're doing now, not just, in front of the camera, also being behind the camera, if you're producing, if you're directing, if you're, getting into a bit of writing. It's a thing that a lot of actors want to do, but not all of them are able to. What was the hardest thing for you making the transition from in front of the camera to behind the camera?
The way I went about doing it, which really worked for me, was that I decided to try my hand at directing a play first before doing a movie, and to do it in an environment that there wasn't that much on the line. It wasn't as a high pressure situation. So there are these smaller theaters, equity waiver theaters, that are like 99 seats or less, but they're really, you could play and experiment and do all kinds of things, and there's some great productions being done in these theaters. So I did a play in one of those theaters and really learned and had a great experience. And then I did another. I wound up doing probably 7 plays, directing them. And then I found a great script, a movie script. And then I went about trying to find a way to get it made. And one thing led to another, meeting different people. And I was lucky I was able to get that first one done. And then I've done 2 more since. So, everybody will find their own path. But I think doing it as a play, directing a play first, was really a good idea.
Okay, everybody, we are back finishing up with Don Most, a.k.a. Ralph Malph from Happy Days, and just going over a few things now. If acting, writing, directing, producing was not enough, you're also singing. I mean, you're out there with a 7-piece band on the Sings and Swings tours, doing, a little of Sinatra and Dean Martin and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I love it. The thing that we didn't talk about, I didn't get a chance to mention, was that before I was acting, at 16, I started, my first love was singing, and I was about 13, 14, and I started going to a class for that in New York City, and then I got picked to be in this professional group, kids about 14, 15, 16, 8 of us, that we performed in the Catskill Mountains in nightclubs in the hotels up there one summer. And that was my first love. And then I discovered, I loved all the jazz standards and then Sinatra, of course. But my main guy was Bobby Darin. I was a huge Bobby Darin fan. Got to see him at the Copacabana when I was 18, and had a major influence on me. So I decided, for some reason, I put the singing aside for many, many years. But in the last, about a year ago, not even, I decided I have to go back and do it again, and do it the way I wanted to do it, and create like an act, and put together great arrangements and great musicians, and do the music that I love. And and I'm doing the Sinatra, Dean Martin, Bobby Darin kind of stuff, and other things too, from the Swinger, Count Basie, and all this really cool stuff. And I'm just loving it. Been doing clubs in New York, here in L.A., Chicago. Just did something in San Diego.
Got it. Now, Don, when you're not singing, when you're not acting, I mean, you're busy enough. You get out on the golf course every now and then. Is that how you relax, have a little fun?
Yeah, I used to play a lot. Lately, with the music side of things going as busy, I haven't had time, but I love to play golf. And as a matter of fact, I played yesterday for the first time in like 3 months, and it was frustrating as hell because I hadn't been playing. So now I think I have to go back and start practicing and playing. But yeah, I've been playing, about 32 years now, and just love the game and love to watch it as well, and go see it in person and watch it on TV, that kind of thing.
And what teams or what athletes are you watching nowadays? You know, when you get a chance and you're at home just kicking your feet up, who are you looking for on the TV?
Well, it used to be I would still look for the Yankees to follow, but it's very hard to do that out here in LA. So I started watching the Dodgers a lot more and more over the last. I finally kind of switched over to the Dodgers about 5-6 years ago. But then last year I couldn't watch him because I didn't have Time Warner, and it was like I couldn't watch him. It was like really frustrating. So I'm hoping this year, I don't know, I have to check my cable system to see because I'd love to watch them.
We'll check the cable system. I'm going to have to put a call out to Magic or somebody. Can we get the Dodger cable situation? Oh, yeah, that's a whole nother.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what that was about. A little too much politics or something going on somewhere.
Nothing good for people that just want to watch baseball. If not the Dodgers, the team they're playing against, somebody, anybody.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, during the interleague, I could have watched the Dodgers and Yankees and really would have been happy.
Now, obviously, we're here in the middle of Valley Sports Cards. There's all kind of cards, pictures, autographs, memorabilia. Are you a collector yourself?
A few things. I do have some. And, of course, my most prized possession is a signed Mickey Mantle autograph. And I even have a picture of myself with Mickey. I've got he didn't sign it because I got the picture a day or two after I took it with him. But I have a few others. I have Don Larson's signature from his Perfect Game, and Stan Musial, and a great Ted Williams he's with Babe Ruth, and a few others. Whitey Ford, I think. Yeah. So
anything you see on the walls here, you got your eyes on.
Well, I saw Mickey over there. You can't miss that. So I was like radar. I was like, zoomed right into that.
Got it. Well, we're just going to go over just kind of rapid fire, a little thing we do with everybody. Just a few of your favorites. Okay. Things that come up. We know, like you said, even way back to your teenage days and even now that, you're singing, who would you say is your favorite singer?
Bobby Darin still, and Frank, close, but Bobby.
Okay. Tough question for any actor. Your favorite movie?
Oh, my God. Favorite movie. Well, Godfather's up there, but I also still love Casablanca and The Wizard of Oz.
3 classics. Can't go wrong with those. Favorite holiday or favorite time of year? What's the one holiday you get excited about?
I being Jewish, I really enjoy Passover a lot because of family. It's a really great family unity kind of a holiday, and it's very meaningful.
Nice. And I'm gonna take Happy Days off the table. Favorite TV show?
The Twilight Zone was my all-time favorite TV show.
Okay, watched it growing up.
The original one, yeah, with Rod Serling's. That was did I love that show.
As a host, that had to be, every time I seen Rod Serling, one of the hardest, he's there with the suit, very deadpan.
Yeah.
You walk into a card shop one day. Yeah.
And I got to meet him once, and that was a thrill, on a paddleball, his own paddleball court, because our director, Jerry Paris, lived near him, and they used to play at his house every Saturday, so I got to go there once and meet him.
Nice. And then last but not least, a favorite motto or a favorite saying that you have?
I still got it.
Nice. Speaking of which, one last thing, because we always go to our questions from Twitter. First question comes to us. We got Joe in Cincinnati. Wants to know, do you still see any of the Happy Days cast nowadays?
I do. I just saw Anson Williams, who played Potsy, last week, and I spoke with Henry just a few days ago, Henry Winkler, and I saw Ron Howard and Marion Ross at my show at Rockwell's. So yeah, we stay in touch and see each other. It's great.
Nice. Are there any plans for a reunion show?
Not that I know of. We've had 2 reunion shows over the years. Last one was about 2005, but I haven't heard about any new ones coming up.
And then last but not least, we got this question from down in San Diego. Now, you already told us you still got it. Right. But somebody else wants to know if you can say, sit on it, Fonz.
Sit on it, Fonz.
There it is. Now, how can people, kind of keep up with you, find out more about what's going on with Don Most nowadays?
Yeah, well, my website is donmost.net, and I've been a little remiss in updating it, but after today, I think I'll go over there and give a quick update of what's going on coming up and all that. I'm going to be doing a film. I'm acting in a film in Austin, Texas next month called Follow, and then it'll have all my upcoming singing appearances as well.
Excellent. And, we talked before about the softball games, raising money, helping out different causes. And even to this day, you're still kind of working with the Michael J. Fox Foundation for people with Parkinson's, correct?
That's right. Yeah, that's one that I have some personal connection to, and they're doing great work. It's a wonderful organization, and my wife and I have been involved with them over the years, and have even done some functions with them. So that's one that's very important to me.
Well, excellent. Well, you guys can check them out. You can check out Don at donmost.net. If we inspired you to update the site, even better. But Don, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for taking the time.
So much. It was a great pleasure for me, and thank you. You were a terrific interview. I really enjoyed it.
I'm no Rod Serling, but I try. All right, everybody, that's it for this time of sportsrecall.com. You can always check us out on the web, check us out on Twitter, and check out Don Most anytime at www.donmost.net. Thanks for hanging out with us. Until next time, adios.